Thank you for kicking it with Kara. It's your girl, Kara, and I have a special guest on by the name of Eddie Williams, who is a former state trooper and a current entrepreneur. How are you doing today, Eddie?
I'm great. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. So tell us a little bit about your background, where you're from, and what you currently do now.
I'm originally from Charleston, South Carolina. I grew up in Oklahoma, Lawton, Oklahoma. Former college athlete, basketball player, former professional basketball player in Canada for a year. And now I have my own trucking company, I run box trucks everywhere throughout the U.S. So that's what I'm doing now. I was a state trooper for the last 6 years, and I'm done with that now.
Okay, well that's really great. So let's start from the beginning. So how was it being a college athlete and a professional athlete? I know being a small athlete myself, not saying I was the best, but I definitely feel as though that you learn a lot of discipline, you learn a lot of teamwork and things. So, but you being to the level that you were, it definitely has a lot more pressure on you. So how was it for your experience?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Just everything you said, it taught me about teamwork, working together. Big thing is being able to work in highly stressful situations and environments, whether that be games, practices, or whatever. Being able to follow instructions from your coach. It's the same thing. Same thing once you get out of school, once you get done playing sports in life. You got to play your game, and you got your coach, whether that be your manager, supervisor, boss, or whatever. Even if you own your own business, you got to answer to somebody, whether it's taxes, IRS, or something. So just teaches you discipline and how to manage your time wisely, pretty much.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I wish that with the pandemic and thing that's going on now, I wish it wasn't affecting student athletes and kids that just like sports in general, because I love the camaraderie behind it, going to the games and things, and just being in the environment of athleticism. So seeing after college and after your professional basketball career, you moved on to become a police officer. Tell us a little bit about that from the beginning before you became a state trooper.
Yeah, that was not something I envisioned myself ever doing, being a state trooper or a police officer for that matter. I wasn't checking for that coming out of college, but I did get my degree in criminal justice, so I wanted to do something that applied to that, which really doesn't mean anything nowadays. The degrees don't matter, but yeah, so I went ahead and I looked it up. I went into I researched state troopers and all that stuff like that, and the work didn't look like regular police work. You're not going to houses, house calls, and stuff like that. The job really entails being on the highway, stopping speeding cars, and working crashes, and that's pretty much about. That's the forefront of it. That's what they tell you when you're before you get into it. But it's a lot more than that. I learned that it's a lot more than that. But I loved it. Did it for 6 years. I loved it. I can't sit here and say I hated it at all.
Okay, and since you did do it for 6 years, you said last year was, when did you resign?
February 2020, right before the pandemic.
Okay, and with the heightened tension that's behind cops of all facets, no matter if you're a regular officer, if you're a sheriff, you're a state trooper, anybody in a cop uniform, it's a lot of heat, it's a lot of pressure that's going on, especially now. Back then when you first started, what is the difference you've seen then as opposed to, I guess, like your last year? Because you were still an officer when a lot of tensions was rising with the George Floyd case. And so what do you think of, not say what do you think, but tell us a little bit about the difference of encounters that you had from the time when you first started as opposed to like your last year working?
Well, you know as well as I know, I knew this going in, the minority communities, we don't really, growing up, we don't really, you know, just mess with the cops too tough like that, just crazy like that. So that's one reason when I first became one, I was kind of nervous about becoming one, because I was like, man, this isn't, I don't know if this is for me. So just growing up, that's kind of what we're taught. Just kind of pretty much stay away from the police. So when I first started, it wasn't anything, you know, anything too much different from what you see now. If you remember, I started in 2014, January 2014, and right about that time, and maybe a year and a half later, you know, they started doing, you know, what is it called? Ambushing cops, and you know, and different stuff like that, and shootings and stuff on the rise. And you know, there's always been a narrative of, you know, nobody really likes the police, but it's just now. I think the big difference now is in between, you know, when I first started and now is, you know, pretty much the whole world is involved. I don't think we've ever seen anything like this in the history of the world, where, you know, we have just everybody's protesting literally throughout the world, every continent, everybody's protesting. And I think that's the big thing. It's just, I think the public has gotten an eye opener to, you know, systemic racism and you know, police brutality and things like that.
I definitely feel as though you hit the nail on the head. It's the highest level of frustration. It's the highest level of frustration that the black community has had, because this is nothing new to us. And how you said we grew up in a community where it's stay away from cops. It's not because we feel as though cops we're doing bad things and we feel that cops are, you know, preventing us from doing the bad things. I have been in a few situations with people that I have been around that are black males, very prosperous in the community, doctors, lawyers, entrepreneurs, and just out the color of their skin have been extremely racially profiled until they find out, hey, this person is a prestige, and then they change their whole demeanor around. And so I feel as though it is something that's been important for it to be known to the whole world of the type of treatment that not only black men, black women have been vulnerable to for an extremely long time. And especially even with the protest, it was going on last night. It's a new one that came out with Dante Wright, who was pulled over for expired tags. And an officer had to arrest him. He tried to get back inside the car, and one of the officers said, taser, and he shot the man. And you could tell with the video that he didn't mean to, and I seen it, like, when a black officer, like, oh, my gosh, like, what did you do? And it's like these type of scenarios where police officers, they have these guns that are licensed for them to be able to use, and they use them so carelessly on type of situations where lives are lost. And then when it comes down to the judicial system, to the law, it goes, well, we're just going to acquit the person. So with the George Floyd trial, you know, that's going on right now. And if it goes the way that a lot of trials have went, where he gets off, then, you know, it's going to be a whole nother uproar. It's going to be a whole nother protest. So my question to you, if you were still an officer right now, what type of protocol would you take with the high intensity of protest, the high intensity of, you know, just forget the police, you know, I'm not going to say the other words that people are thinking, but do you feel as though, being that you are a black male, that it might be different for you than it would be for your white counterparts that are officers?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And that's just a question, like, you know, I talk to some of my coworkers, pretty much all of them, you know, every other week. That's a conversation that we've had. It's just, I honestly can't answer how I'd react to, you know, being on the other side of a riot line after, you know, witnessing the George Floyd thing. We specifically had that conversation. Like, I don't know if I could do that, because, like you said, you've been out with your friends that are of, certain prestige or whatever, and the first thing, that not just police officers in general, but people of other races see is this is a black person, and all the stereotypes and all that stuff starts to go out the window. And I witnessed that when I was a state trooper. I witnessed that while it's a total difference between how I get treated in uniform versus out of uniform, and even when I'm out of uniform, once I don't go around. I never went around boasting like, hey, I'm a state trooper. But if they found out, and it was just a complete total change in it, in their attitude and treatment of me. So I'm very, very familiar with that. But I honestly, like, that question, I can't answer, because I got emotional just watching the protests on TV and on the news, and seeing people talking to black officers like, why are you on this side of the line? And that's tough. That's extremely tough. That's an extremely tough situation to be in. So just to add a little bit of a lighter, side to it, shit, I'm glad I quit when I did, So yeah,
got out when you could.
That's my take on it. Yeah, seriously, because I don't know if I can do that.
Yeah, and that's why I really, I did want to bring you on, because you are the only cop that I know. And when I actually met you in the environment that we did, it was a very social environment, and you was a really cool guy. And I didn't know that you was a cop until way later on. I was like, oh, okay. And then in my mind, things do switch, like, oh, you a cop? And so it's like, I don't know, we can really be cool, but it really shows that every cop is not a bad cop, And so it being that it's so many that are tainting the name, that we all do, not say we all, because it's not everybody, but a lot of us do just go off our prejudice of so many things that's going on and so many experiences that we have, that we automatically assume, like, okay, am I still for defund the police? Yeah. But I really feel as though there should be methods to dealing with their anxiety, with their nervousness, with their I think they have to deal with different traumas and triggers that they have, because for you to be a person to protect and to serve, I feel as though there's a lot of people that wear a badge that are very cowardly in real life. And so just because you put a badge on, you put a suit on, doesn't mean that your inner personality is going to change. And I feel that a lot of officers react off of fear on a lot of things, off of precautions as to protect the community. And so I do have a question for you, since you was a state trooper, and this scenario could definitely pertain to you. I know we both seen the traffic stop that was in Virginia, where it was a Army lieutenant, and they was in Virginia, and it was like late at night, and he decided to, hey dog, he decided to pull over. They said he went like a mile or two with his turn signal on, and he decided to pull over in a lighted area. And can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, he decided to pull over in a lighted area, and the officer made a claim that he reacted the way he did because he felt as though the driver was eluding the police. And so he ended up tasing him. He ended up macing him and harassing him. Do you feel as though that officer in that scenario had the right to do his actions the way that he did? If you was his partner that was in the car with him?
Is that the military lieutenant?
Yes, the military lieutenant. And the guy had said that he had a turn signal on, and he waited until he was in a lighted area. How do you feel about the actions that he displayed?
The officer or the lieutenant?
The officer that made
the officer. Just being out there, like really just being out there in the field, sort of quote unquote. I don't like casting judgment on anyone's mind state or their actions, because I wasn't in that situation, and I've been in situations where, the camera's on, everything's rolling, it's all there, but in order to fully grasp, what's going on with everything, you literally would have to be in there. You know what I mean? The camera can't catch, people's eyes and, nonverbal cues and stuff like that sometimes. It's a different world just actually being out there, where it literally takes less than a second to get shot and killed, literally like half a second, for whatever the reason. All I can do is speak for me and myself, what I would do in that position. I most likely wouldn't have handled it like that, especially, if I saw him in uniform. But also, I mean, in hindsight, there's a lot of military guys, a lot of vets that, they have PTSD, and, after they come back from war, and sometimes they just snap, something just snaps, and he might be in his uniform and, out to do that. You never know, in that situation. But, in that situation, I don't really think that was warranted, because I mean, you're at an airport, so I thought that the guy was literally just trying to pull over into a lighted area. But I can't speak for what somebody's going through in their head and what they're thinking about, and I don't really think anybody else can either, because hindsight's 20/20. Monday morning quarterbacking is great. Like that's great, thinking of it, after the fact and watching the video 100 times. But when you're out there really living it, and an actual second can cost you your life, I'm not going to judge anybody for that. But I wish it didn't go down how it did. I hope everybody makes it out. I hope that the outcome, whatever the outcome is, I hope it's one that reflects, I guess, justice, or whatever you want to call it.
Okay. I definitely, I respect your opinion. I definitely feel as though it was unwarranted, because I don't know what other level that somebody can do to show that they're not a threat, especially with their hands outside the car, uniform on. So I can only imagine what had happened to him if he didn't even have a uniform on. He was pulled over for his tag. That was a vehicle that was licensed from, I guess, from his company. But just to be pulled over, a nonviolent, your license is suspended, you didn't even get to that part of checking anything, insurance, nothing, but just to be tased, to be mazed, and you literally didn't do anything wrong, that shows that there is something extremely wrong in the police system. So I have a question. When you're going through training, because when you all are going into this environment, the high risk of what you're taking every day. That's a given. So what type of training are they giving you in the beginning to help calm your nerves to not act so quickly in a very violent way? How much training do y'all have that's specifically on that type of thing?
On nonviolent contacts?
Yes, when you pull somebody over, how much? Yeah, when you're pulling somebody over, if you feel, I don't know how he felt threatened, so just pulling somebody over, what are the protocols before tasing? What's the protocol before tasing and macing somebody?
No, well, I think that happened in Virginia or whatever. I think that was Virginia. So everybody's laws are different. We don't tase for just for anything, or tase or mace or do any of that. First of all, nobody wants to use mace. I don't know why I use mace. Mace, I don't know. People don't think before they use that. The real life scenario of mace is when you spray that, it doesn't just go away. Anybody who knows about mace, it doesn't go away. It stays in the air. So there's a chance that it gets in your eye. So I actually never carried my mace with me, because I never planned on spraying mace on anybody, because I didn't want to get in my eyes. But yeah, I think that was probably an extreme case. But the training that we do is, as far as traffic stops was concerned, or we did, as far as traffic stops were concerned, is you honestly never know what's going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen when you hit those lights and get behind a car. You don't know what you're walking up into. I have one of my old coworkers. He recently got killed 2 weeks ago, last week and a half ago. And he went to go check on a stranded car. The car was stranded. It wasn't even a traffic stop. He just went to go check on a guy who was stranded on the side of the road. He walks up and the guy starts opening firing on him for no reason. And that's just one scenario that, it didn't have to be that way. It was nothing. It wasn't even a traffic stop. So there's different departments have different, sort of cues or different sort of things that would make them raise their aggressiveness to a certain level. So I don't know what the protocol is in Virginia or the airport, whatever department that was. I don't know what the protocol is for that. I can just speak for what ours is. I'm not bringing out the mace ever for one, but if I do have to bring out mace, it's gonna have to be for a really good reason. And I agree with you. I don't think that was a really good reason to mace anybody. I think they could have talked that one out.
Okay, so how long is training in the beginning to become a cop?
In your departments, it varies.
And to be a state
I'm
trooper.
from, state trooper. It's 6 months of the academy. You're in the academy for 6 months, and then after you get out of the academy, you have to do field training in the field for another 6 months. Correction, another year on that. So it's not till another year and a half till you get off by yourself. You literally go by yourself. So that's how it is with us. But I do know other departments in in Texas and stuff like that. Their academies like maybe about 6 weeks or a couple months maybe, and then they're out there. So it's just different.
Okay.
It's different for every department.
Okay, so let's just say scenario. After a year and a half, you did all your training, you did all the things that you need to do to be by yourself. Between that time frame of, say, year 2 to year 6, did you have to have any additional training in between that time frame?
Oh, yeah. We went to training every month. Every month there was a different sort of training, whether it was, hostage negotiation or hostage crisis negotiation, traffic stops, briefings on the law, running up on the law, in services, everything. Cars, how to drive, update on how to drive your car and use your computer, tablets, all that. There was always training, like every month, if not multiple times a month.
Okay. How much so within the 6 years, how many things was it evolved around your mental state of mind?
Mental state of mind. I would say that all of it was geared around your mental state of mind. We just knowing the laws themselves is your mental state of mind, because you can't go up to a car and not know what you're talking about or know the law. You need to know what's going on, because you want to make sure you're stopping the car for the right thing. You're abiding by the law when, if you have to try to search or talk to, passengers or anything like that. You want to know that you're doing your job the right way, and that's a mental state of mind right there. But if you're referring to
emotional,
like on the moment, in the moment situations, like life or death, what are you going to do, 50-50, stuff like that. We probably did that maybe about, I don't know, a couple times every year.
Okay, so you would probably say 98% of the stuff was not based around those type of scenarios. What percentage would you say?
No, I wouldn't say 98%, but it's a pretty good percent. It's just based upon knowledge and knowing the laws and stuff like that. because I mean, in police officers' defense, you can go train for. There was troopers I knew that had been in the department for like 20 years, and they still see new stuff every week. Like it's just the stuff that happens, you know, late at night especially. The stuff that happens is just sometimes people wouldn't even believe the stuff that happens. There's no way to just prepare for everything, because I mean, just like the world, technology, crime evolves too. You know, 20, 25, maybe 30 years ago, we didn't have to worry about cybersecurity and stuff like that, and you know, cyberbullying and you know, things of that nature. And now we do. So just like the world evolves, crime evolves. So there's no way you can. There's something happening right now that no one's ever seen before. So it's just hard to train for everything that there possibly is out there.
Yeah, that's definitely understandable. I mean, I think that's in any career. We're always learning new policies, new different things. I was just asking the question because our mental health is the most important factor of how our body regulates how we react to things. And as I had previously said before, me watching and me looking at different scenarios, and these are just the small factors that are actually been publicized. A lot of things seem to be based off of fear-based or off of trauma-based scenarios that's happened previously that are being triggered. And so being that a lot of people in our black community and communities in general, especially as men don't really open up about things, suppress things, but at the end of the day in our conscious and subconscious minds, the things that we experience in life, we still hold on to, and we can easily be triggered by those things or be in fear of things happening again or scenarios going into a different direction. And being that y'all are, well, I mean, you're not in that scenario anymore, but going on a daily basis knowing that certain things can happen in your subconscious mind, that's always going to be in the forefront, even if it's not specifically on your mind. And so that's why I was asking the question of what in the actual police academy, what the police department, what are they doing to assist or even determine, hey, this person has these traumas that in their past scenarios of dealing with this stuff that needs to be addressed, because when you don't address certain things, it formulates an even larger problem that comes into things like that happened yesterday, that comes into things that happened with the Virginia thing in December, where it's small scenarios that are being these people are being triggered to make it seem like it's something larger, and it has a catastrophe that's happening. But I don't know these people's mind. I'm not a psychologist or anything, but I do know about traumas and things that are being triggered. So it's just very interesting to me how we're using all this taxes and money toward implementing new rules, how to drive this car, how to shoot this gun, when the mental state of mind is the highest level of the important factor that should be determined before somebody puts on a badge and a gun. So to go into something that's even more lighthearted, tell me about a good scenario that made you feel like, you know what, this is why I became a state trooper.
I think, there's so much, and I'm not just speaking for me. I'm speaking for you know, almost all police officers around the world. There's so much that police officers do behind the scenes, going like beyond above and beyond, you know, their duty just to help people. I think there is a lot of bad out there, but just doing the job, you know, for as long as I did, I saw so much good being done. Like the good, I'm not gonna say it outweighs the bad or whatever, but it was so much good, like every day that the world will never know about, because you're not trained to, you know, go around boasting and bragging, oh, I did this for so and so, and I did this. But I mean, there's been multiple occasions where you know, where it was just the job was fulfilling. But I guess one was it was a little girl. I can't remember. She couldn't have been no more than about 10 to 12 maybe. And she got in a wreck. Her parents got into a wreck. Her mom got into a wreck on the way to her recital. And the recital started. It wasn't a recital. It was an actual performance in front of a crowd. So the mom, they crashed. The car was totally wrecked, so they didn't have any way to get there. So I ended up just dropping them off. I worked the crash or whatever, and I drove them, downtown to their show, and they gave me a ticket or whatever, and they actually honored me at the show for that. So I was like, yeah, this is pretty cool. That's pretty dope. So yeah, that was probably the coolest thing. But there's probably 100 more stories like that I can't even remember.
Really good. I like to hear things like that. It feels good to be and I feel, because I know you pretty well, so I know that, because I don't know how you would act in certain scenarios, but I just know you generally as a person that certain things that you just don't, feel your morals that it's okay. But I definitely love hearing about the really great things. I did hear about something I seen on TV that brought an actual officer, a state trooper, to tears. It was a lady that she was drunk driving, and a little girl was in the front seat, and she was doing like almost 100 on the highway and things, and so he kind of prevented anything worse to happen to that. So I'm not getting on here and just bashing all officers and things like that, saying like they're all the worst in the world. I don't believe that at all. Otherwise, I wouldn't be, cool with you. But and I don't want like the bad seats to outweigh like the good ones and things, because I do feel as though they have been really great moments, like how you said that you've had. I'm sure many others have had as well. So tell me about your basketball, because you give. Well, I know you give back to the community and you have like your program and stuff. Tell me a little bit about your basketball as you continue now to help younger kids.
Oh yeah, we got a good thing going. I connected with a guy that I played. We played pickup basketball with. He played overseas for, I don't know, maybe like 13 years himself. So he started a program for the kids, just to get them looked at, to get them scholarships and stuff like that. It's just a AAU program. So we train them up. He asked me to help him out maybe a year into doing it, and so we got with the kids, and it's not, we didn't get the best kids in the area. We got those kids who want to, are kind of overlooked and want to do, further their basketball careers. And we kind of got with them and trained them up, put them in, tournaments and stuff, get looked at in front of coaches and stuff like that. And now we have maybe four, I think there's four or five of them that are actually ranked in the state and the nation now. And we have more up and coming new guys too. So it's that's the joy of my life right now. My business is cool and everything, but that's the joy of my life, is being able to help kids achieve their dreams and showing them the right way and how to achieve their goals, and then actually watching them go out there and actually do it. That's the cool thing about it. So I wouldn't train that for the world.
I think that's really great. Quick question for, say, like the younger kids, like the younger boys, the younger girls, that aren't able to afford, going to different programs, or can't even afford like AAU, but they still want to, progress to the next level. They want to, play college basketball. What kind of tips would you kind of give them while they're in high school that they kind of can do within themselves to?
For one, go make sure that your game is up to par. I know we're one of the programs, but I know there's a lot around this area, at least in Texas, that, if you're good enough, if you can help out the team, if you're good enough to help out the team and be on the team, they'll do, little fundraisers and stuff like that. And we actually have a scholarship program for that. So we have a couple of kids that, we take care of, because they, for whatever reason, the fees and stuff, they might be a little bit too much. So we have scholarships and stuff like that in place to combat that. So yeah, I just say just go for it and do your research, because basketball is at its most popular ever. So, there's somebody out there. There's some team that you can play on. You just got to sharpen up your skills and make sure that when you do get out there, you can produce and show that you belong out there with the best of them.
Thank you. And so when you went to college, we both went to college. College is hard enough within itself. How are you able to balance playing basketball and prioritizing your schoolwork as well? Like, what kind of, give a tip to some college athletes that kind of feel like, hey, because your major, criminal justice, wasn't a very easy major. So how are you able to balance it?
And we had to. I had a 55-year-old coach and 4 assistant coaches that checked on us every day, made sure we were in class, study hall, make it curfew, making sure we were in the dorms when we needed to be, or our apartments when we needed to be, and that kept us in line. Because if you don't pass, you can't play. So that was just a given. Like, hey, we gotta make this work. And, of course, we had our teammates. We all went through it together. So shoot, we were out there together. So he's like, hey man, you gotta get your work done so you can play, because we need you on the team. You don't want to let your team down. So you just have to change your mindset. You have to grow up a lot, and you have to grow up early, really early. You got to mature, and you just have to prioritize your time right. It teaches you how to be a man early on, and you got to make some sacrifices. You can't go out and party and kick it with the other students sometimes. We went out and had our fun, but you can't be at every party, partying up, drinking, doing all sorts of other stuff. You got to stay on top of your job, because it's a job at the end of the day. That's why I don't mean to be a political activist, but I'm definitely for paying some of these players nowadays in college, because it's a job. You're waking up every day, working out, going to class, right out of class, go to film, then practice, out of practice, go maybe eat, then go to study hall. By then it's 9 o'clock. You didn't spend from 5 a.m. to 9 o'clock at night, doing a job. So that's about it. That's my advice. You go in there with your head right and be ready to make sacrifices.
I think you definitely touched on some great points, especially mindset. Mindset is key on anything, making sacrifices. We definitely have to make sacrifices for the things that we want. And the last point that you said about paying the athletes, I think that they should get some type of compensation or just a small budget to survive. Because I really do, they bring a lot of the fans in. They bring a lot of money for the university in. And I will say that it is a lot behind the scenes that people don't see, because y'all are like the shrines around the school, but people don't understand that not everybody, but quite a few have like $10 in their pocket. And I feel like that adds on even more stress, along with schoolwork, along with, making the shot or catching the football and type of thing. So I think that most that they can do to not just alleviate athletes, students in general that's trying to better themselves, to cut some of that burden off of, how am I going to pay these bills? How am I going to, survive pretty much besides the amount that's kind of given? I think that would be something that should be implemented going forward. So we're going to manifest and speak that into existence for the younger ones. So to end this off, I would definitely like for you to give me a motto, a mantra that you live by that we can all indulge in.
Life is short. Don't use excuses. Just get the job done. You never know. Tomorrow's not promised. So just get the job done, no excuses. Be happy. Be happy every day.
Well, thank you. I don't know if that came from the basketball academy or it came from the state trooper. No, but
no, I really just thought it off the top of my head. That's crazy.
No, that's a great one. It's straight to the point. I think you're right. Of all the factors that you said, I 100% agree. I 100% agree. So I appreciate you, Eddie, for coming and kicking it with your girl, Kara. And I hope that you have a great evening.
Thank you very much, ma'am. You too.